Hello, everybody. Welcome back into another edition of Prime Sports World. On today's episode of the Prime, we're going to be giving you our Southeast off-season preview in the National Basketball Association, as there is a lot to talk about when it comes to that particular division. We're going to be doing an off-season preview for every single team in the NBA, so keep an eye out for that content. And we're recording this right now as the Dallas Mavericks and the Minnesota Timberwolves are locked into Game 4. Minnesota currently up. My name is David Huppin. There is my co-host, Mr. TJ Hopkins. Please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. We give you guys daily content, including our Prime Sports World website, which is in the comment section. You can check out Izzy's prediction for week game number 4 in the Western Conference. Go and read all of our other articles as well. TJ, happy Tuesday, my friend. How are you?
It's Tuesday.
I feel you. Thank you very much, my Aunt Judy, for liking the podcast. We always appreciate your love and support. Let's get right into it without wasting any time, and let's talk about the team that actually won this division. I'm going to have to make that font a little bigger. Just give me a second. Let's talk about the Orlando Magic, 47-35. They have the 18th overall pick in this upcoming draft. Their only notable free agent was Markelle Fultz. So the Magic, I mean, they seem to be in a good place, but what can they do to kind of get them over the hump here, and what should be their priorities? And real quick, they should have a max slot available. They currently have $140 million on their books. The cap is projected to be at $141 million, so that gives them room to sign a max player this offseason. But they also have the opportunity to potentially give Franz Wagner a rookie max extension this offseason, depending on what they want to do there. I imagine they'll do that, but that wouldn't kick in until next year anyways. But TJ, if you're the Magic, what are you trying to do this offseason?
Obviously, you did what so many have been asking you to do for the longest, and it was you've been stockpiling all these young talented players, and you're not, like, you weren't winning. Like, now you finally put that team together that everybody's been talking about for the last handful of years. Like, hey, the Orlando Magic are coming, they're coming, and yeah, they're here. Especially that young man Paolo Banchero. That brother is here. Obviously, like, you want to see growth from the right players. It was a huge win getting Jonathan Isaacs back into the fray. At one point in time, this guy was your starting 3 and was a matchup nightmare. It was a win just to get him back on the court. Now you kind of have to figure out, like, what you want to do for him now. Like, I see he's more used as like their He's the
Well,
defender.
he does become a valuable if they like because he's on an expiring contract. So is Gary Harris as well. I've got to put him on the graphic there. But they could have looked to move Jonathan Isaac. He's on an expiring contract now. He could be a valuable trade asset, and they have all of their first round picks if they wanted to really push their chips to the middle here.
So and like the thing that you have with that is like push your chips to the middle for who like all the guys.
I'm not sure who the guy is.
That's what I'm saying. So
if you want to stay within the division and make a move for like a Trae Young, I mean, he would vastly, or even a LaMelo Ball. Can you imagine a LaMelo Ball in this Magic
team? Oh, that would be disgusting. But at the same time,
good.
It's like who are you trading for? Who are you throwing money at? I legit think this is like the first time in a long time in like an NBA free agency period where we see little movement, if any at all. I don't expect LeBron to leave the Lakers. I don't expect Donovan Mitchell to leave Cleveland. Whoever else is a big name,
Paul George.
Like that maybe, that's maybe.
I'm not sure who the guy is. They need a shot career. They need a shotter, like somebody who can shoot the basketball. I mean, if they can get Klay Thompson on a decent number, I think he'd be a really valuable piece on this roster. If he wanted to leave, Golden State, depending on what the offer is there. Paulo Banchero is also going to be eligible for a super max extension or a rookie max extension this offseason too. Maurice Wagner is also a free agent, team option for his contract. Joel Ingles another team option. Jalen Suggs as well on the rookie deal.
I think they keep Wagner. I think they like what he does with their second unit. Plus, that keeps Franz happy. So yeah, you kind of want to do that. Joe Ingles
and Franz Wagner. Yes, he was. I think he regressed a little bit this season. Like he wasn't nearly as good this year as he was even the year before. But I wonder if that's a lot to do with.
I don't call it regressing. I call it this is my role now. And
yeah, okay, yeah.
Like we're better when Banchero is option one.
That's true.
And I'm doing all the other stuff. Like I call that like that's a young player. All right, this is my role. Like this is what I'm gonna be. This is what I do now. And if I'm the Orlando Magic, what they go 47 to 35. All right, I want to up that to 50.
I can't really get that to be bigger. Okay. That's as big as it's gonna get.
Like I want to up that to you want to up that to 50. You want Jamal Mosley to be Coach of the Year candidate, all that good stuff. You want a top 4, you want a top 4 seed. Again, you want to be in the top 4 in the East. Like you don't want that fall that you had because season start Izzy's like, yeah, I told you. I'm like, yeah, wait till Christmas. Give me two. Can we at least get to Christmas? And Christmas came and they were playing in territory. It's like if you're the Orlando Magic, now that you won the division and you made the playoffs, you don't want to venture down towards play-in territory.
I don't think you want to end up like the Hawks. I mean, the Hawks made it to the Eastern Conference Finals one season. We haven't heard repeat from them since. Like, you need to continue building positive momentum.
But here's the difference in that, like this Orlando team, they didn't go that far. They took.
Yeah, I mean, the Hawks was a fluke, but a lot of a fluke. I think the Magic, they're built like we talked about this for many years. Like, it's nice to stockpile young talent, but eventually you have to
hit on that young talent.
Yeah, and eventually you got to be a playoff team.
Yeah. So with them, again, like the lineups that they can trot out, where the smallest guy is 6'8", and that's Franz Wagner, because like they can trot out the lineup with Wagner running the point, and Isaacs and Banchero, that's 6'8", 6'10", 6'10".
Wendell Carter Jr.
That's 6'9".
Maurice Wagner at the 5, like 7, all of 7 feet tall, or right at 7 feet tall.
So it's like when you can trot out a lineup like that, you can cause a lot of players a lot of hit. Like you can cause a lot of teams a lot of hell. So if you're the Orlando Magic, you just want to see growth in that next, like in the key guys, Banchero, Wagner, Jalen Suggs, why is his name escaping me? Like Cole, like make a plan of what to do with Cole because you got a bunch of guards there and they're not
Yeah,
playing.
I mean Anthony Black, Cole Anthony, Jet Howard is another guy. Caleb Houston,
Yeah, like you got a bevy of guards. You got to figure out
Gary
what you want
Harris
to
is
do with
probably not
that.
going to be on this roster next year, but they do have this max slot, like this max free agency
I
slot.
don't.
Like,
I don't think they use it. I don't think they use it. I think they're gonna run this because like we've seen this before. Like we see a team that's on the cusp, and it's like, oh, we are so close. Like let's run this back. Let's see how far we get this go round. And
but
if you
I think if they can add a legitimate 3-point shooter, like a guy who's a knockdown 3-point shooter, like what they thought Joe Ingles would be, but like a better version of that, I think Klay Thompson would be so good on this team. Like if they could get Klay Thompson and keep Markelle Fultz, at a decent salary number, and they could get Klay Thompson at a decent number, $20 million per year, I think he'd be a really good fit on this team.
I just don't see
Like
Klay Thompson.
he wouldn't have to be Game 6 Klay on this Magic team. Like
I also don't see I don't see any of the trio in Golden State wearing another.
I mean, I guess because of what that conversation ends up happening, like what
Like Draymond's made it abundantly clear, like, hey, if the next 5 years is just us like coasting to and not being championship competitive, Draymond legit said he's 100% fine with that.
Yeah,
And,
is Steph Curry the guy who makes this all go?
well, when you making 300 plus mil, you don't. I don't care what you got. I don't care what you say. You got 380 mil in the bank.
I think low-key, I think Klay Thompson will be a member of the Orlando Magic next season.
I'm not seeing it. I'm not.
We'll see.
I'm not seeing it.
Moving on from the Orlando Magic, let's talk about the Miami Heat. Obviously, they got bounced in the playoffs by the Boston Celtics. They have the 15th overall pick. Notable free agents, Caleb Martin and Kevin Love. I put asterisks next to both of their names because they have player options for next season. Caleb Martin did not help his money status. Like he was so hot last season when they went to the finals, cooled off this year. Kevin Love is probably going to, I don't know what Kevin Love does. If he wants to stay in Miami and continue living the Miami life. But the real question is, like, there's been a lot of rumors about Jimmy Butler trades or like another trade involving the Miami Heat. There seem to be always involved in those kind of conversations. What do you do if you're Miami? Because it's clear you're a piece away from like really being competitive.
Piece away from what?
Being overly, like, if they could get, I'm not even sure who they could get. Like, I'm not sure who the guy is. Like, if they, like, let's say they swing for the fences, they add Donovan Mitchell to this team. Like, Donovan Mitchell would be really, but all rumors appear to be that he's going to re-sign with the Cleveland Cavaliers, sign that extension.
Yeah. So first things first. You gotta do some cleaning, some in-house cleaning. It's small, it's minute. You know, it's Jimmy Butler doing Jimmy Butler things and Pat Riley showing why he's the Don. Jimmy Butler, you can talk all the trash you want. Actually, no, you can't. You weren't there. You didn't play. So we really need you to shut up. That what you said kind of rubbed Pat Riley the wrong way, and rightly so. It's like, Jimmy Butler, you can play the what if game all you want. We do it. Like if I was playing the Knicks, bye-bye, the Celtics, bye, but you weren't playing. Your ass was at home. Like you were on the bench. And that's kind of been the common theme with you. And I'm sick of them, this playoff Jimmy. Like, stop it. Like, you missed 30 games a season. And then it's almost like they do it on purpose. It's like, Jimmy, you're missing 30. Tyler Hero, you're going to get banged up a bit. It's just going to be Bam and the Island for the Misfit, Island of the Misfit Toys for a long while. We're going to get in the play-in, and then we're just going to miraculously shock everybody so we can be the talk of the town. Well, it's like, no, I'm sick of it. Like, playoff Jimmy wins, playoff anything wins something. Like, he went, like, you get a nickname when you win. Right? You get the nickname like when you earn something. Like, he said what he said. Pat Riley's like, I need you to shut up. And everybody's like, oh, how could he say that? Because Pat's right. Pat is like Pat's right. Like, well, like Jimmy's dragged him to 2 finals. Did he win? No. So what? Like, what? No. Like that's not good enough for Pat Riley. Just getting to the finals He's not good enough for Pat Riley. Again, I think what you said with Orlando is what I think needs to happen in Miami. That used to be the case. They used to get the big name.
Yeah.
They used to get the. They used to like, hey, money is no obstacle type thing, and I said it during the whole season. Like, I'm sick of the Hayward Highsmiths. I'm sick of the Cody Martin. Like, hey, great stories.
Yeah.
Like, phenomenal stories. Hey, like, they make movies out of that type of stuff. But at the same time, when you don't win,
Haywood Highsmith is also a free agent. He's probably gonna get paid somewhere else. They're currently at $182 million in cap over. So they're over the cap. So they can't even bring it. They can't bring in anyone unless it's some sort of sign and trade. They cannot bring anybody into this team as currently constructed. And what makes it even better is they cannot trade a first round pick. When do you think they can trade a first round pick? If you just had to guess.
It's 2024, 2031.
Not quite that far out, but 2029. So the 2025 first round pick is going to Oklahoma City in a trade that I do not remember whatsoever. And then they traded away a first round pick, I believe, for Terry Rozier to Charlotte. It has some protections on it, whatever. But yeah, so they can't trade a first round pick until 2029. So their assets, which is why they didn't get Damian Lillard, right? Like, they don't have the draft capital, they don't have the assets, they don't have the players that you're like, yeah, those are intriguing to me. The only player that is even remotely interesting on their roster is Tyler Hero. And what are you going to get for Tyler Hero? I think
that's what, and you notice like every trade deadline, unfortunately, the last couple of years, he's been the piece. Like, for Dame, it was Tyler Hero and some stuff to Portland I'm pretty sure some more teams would have to be involved for that to work. Like,
I think if you can package Duncan Robinson and some other stuff, I mean, you can make the money work pretty easily.
But
I mean, the reason that trade never went through is they didn't want Tyler Hero.
And then you got what we was just talking about him, Donovan Mitchell. Like, that trade didn't, like, that trade talk fell through. Bradley Beal, that trade talk fell through. Like, Kevin Durant, that fell through. It's like that is another.
I mean, if the Phoenix Suns decide
James
to blow up
Harden, James Harden, like, that trade, like, the last 4 or 5 big names that have been traded, Miami Heat have had their hats on, like, had their hands in the little cookie jar.
I mean, Damian Lillard, everyone thought that Damian Lillard was going to be a member of the Miami Heat. Like, he wanted to be a member of the Miami Heat, and that never happened. Because they just don't have stuff that people want. I mean, Duncan Robinson and Tyler Hero are their most tradable contracts. Duncan Robinson was, like, out of their rotation making like $20 million a year. And they're over the salary cap, so they have to match 1 for 1 when it comes to money wise. They don't have future assets. I hate to say this, but I think that they could extend Jimmy Butler this offseason too. But I think they should look to try to move him and, like, see if they can build the roster around Bam Adebayo and Tyler Hero, as opposed to building around Jimmy Butler. Because
that's the thing though. It's like, how even at his age, and, like, you know what you're getting out of Jimmy Butler. Like, how, like, what happens if, like I said, like, he gets hurt, and these ain't no small. I missed like a week of games and I'm back. Like, no, like, these are lengthy injuries that Jimmy Butler's getting. What happens if he gets traded to a team and you're expecting playoff Jimmy to be a thing, but you slide too far down and it becomes too little, too late? Like kind of like what it's doing right now. Like, what happens with that? And then his mannerisms are tolerated right now because they're winning. What happens if we saw it in Minnesota, they weren't winning, and Jimmy Butler. We saw it in Chicago. I mean, come on. Like they stopped winning, teams stopped being successful, and it's like, damn, I was looking past, like, that was cool when we was winning, but hey man, we 20 games under 500. get that bass up out your voice when you talk to me.
Yeah, so my Miami Heat got a lot of questions when it comes to their particular offseason. From the other team that has a ton of questions this offseason, the Atlanta Hawks. Obviously, they got lucky in the draft lottery. They got the first overall pick. Their notable free agents is Sadiq Bey, who they did trade for last offseason. They have a lot of questions when it comes to Trae Young and DeJounte Murray future.
Mhm.
Their priorities, because really they're in a bit of a conundrum because they owe future picks to the San Antonio Spurs as part of the DeJounte Murray trade. So they can't even just blow the roster up and tank because San Antonio owes their 2025 first round pick. It owns their 2027 first round pick. And okay, just those two, but it also has the right to swap in 2026. So they have some decisions. They do have a 2025 first round pick next year from Sacramento as part of the what is the name of the shooter on that team?
Oh, Kevin Herter.
Yeah, Kevin Herter. Yes, when Kevin Herter was traded to Sacramento for a first round pick to Atlanta. So now they have the first overall pick. They have no cap space whatsoever. They're already over what is going to be the projected cap space. They do have some decisions to make on AJ Griffin. I imagine they'll just pick up his fourth year option. Jalen Johnson, who was awesome for them this season, really kind of broke out. Could be extended. He's only going to be making $4 or $5 million next year. That's on a team option. Clint Capella is now finally on an expiring contract. They could look to move him. If you're Atlanta, what do you do?
Obviously, it's like, so the two questions are what is Trae Young going to be an Atlanta Hawk come next season, and what are we doing with that first overall pick? I feel bad for this draft class. I really do. It's not a good one. It's just not.
Well, I mean, there will be good players in it. They're just not a Victor Wembanyama in this draft class. There's no Zion Williamson.
It's not just that, though. Like even though Wemby headlined last year's draft class was pretty goddamn stacked. Like, that was a pretty good goddamn draft class.
Yeah, I mean, Brandon Miller. Scotty Boom, Scoot Henderson.
Like Brandon Miller in any draft in the last 5 years, minus the one he was in, it's probably you can make the argument he's the number one overall pick. That was
he'd probably be the number one overall pick in this draft.
He probably would be. Like, all things considered, he absolutely would be. So Trae Young has already kind of ruffled some feathers here. Like, I think he wants the Hawks to try to trade this first overall pick and try to like what would be really super interesting is if they take the first overall pick and they trade it to San Antonio for their 2 first round picks in this year's draft. I still think to this very day that Trae Young will be a Spur when the season starts. And I think the most valuable assets to the Hawks is their own picks. If they can get their own picks back from San Antonio, they can go into a full-fledged rebuild with the first overall pick in this year's draft. You could get Trae Young, you give him to San Antonio, you have the first overall pick, maybe even get one pick in this year's draft from San Antonio because they have 2. RC Buford's not going for that. Like, RC Buford's been around entirely too long. And he, like, every trick that you can think of, RC Buford has 100% seen. He's not fooling them. RC Buford.
We're not trying to fool anyone. We're just like, hey, we want to blow up our roster and stink for a couple seasons, but we can't do that because you guys have our assets. We have Trae Young. You need a point guard who can facilitate your offense and put Trae Young on the Spurs. I mean, come on, man. They could be a playoff team next season.
Well, no. RC Buford's like.
Well, I mean, we'll talk about the Spurs when we get to the Spurs. But sticking with the Hawks, I think they will move one. I think Trae Young or DeJounte Murray, one of those two guys, will be dealt before the season starts. It made a lot more sense to trade DeJounte Murray this offseason before the trade deadline, before his contract got a little more expensive. But I mean, the two guard thing just isn't working in Atlanta. Like, they're better when they're either one of them's on the floor or one of them's hurt and not playing than they are when they play together.
Well, that's just kind of like the thing with, like, Trae Young. even before DeJounte Murray was there, like they were mid. They were the definition of mid. Like they were the walking definition of 500. Like
Yeah, I think since the team that went to the Eastern Conference Finals, they've been literally 500 since.
Literally 500 since. Like 27 to 27, 54 to 54, like whatever that math is over since those.
Over the last 3 seasons, they've literally been 500.
Literally, and it's like it's we kind of see it with the Pacers. We saw it with the Pacers, right? Hey, we're gonna score a lot. We're gonna score a lot. The problem is we're not gonna stop you from scoring a lot, which is.
I mean, that was part of the rationale of why they brought DeJounte Murray in the first place. They thought that his defense would elevate this roster. That just hasn't happened. Like they just can't. And these two guys just don't play well together. They thought Trae Young would be a better off-ball player. He just hasn't been.
The thing that irks me with that is like, oh, we got this one guy. He's gonna solve this problem. He's one guy. Right? Like they're on the court together. DeJounte Murray is like, well, my man ain't scoring like the guy I'm. So what does that have? Like, what about the other four? Because if DeJounte, like, all right, let's just do this, right?
I mean, DeAndre Hunter was drafted as a quote-unquote defensive 3-and-D wing. Bogdan gives you nothing on the defensive side of the ball. Same thing with Sadiq Bey for the most part.
Case in point, right? You had a play game against the Bulls. Right? Like, okay, DeJounte Murray, you're probably gonna, like, you and DeAndre Hunter, you're gonna take turns on, sticking DeMar, and we're gonna go. Kobe White had the game of his goddamn life that night. Like,
yeah. But if you're Atlanta, just swinging back into the offseason, I mean, what is your priority? What should you be looking to do here?
Win more than 40 games for one. Like that's.
That's kind of a next season problem. But we're talking about just the offseason. Should you be looking to move Trae Young or DeJounte Murray? Should you be looking to move a Clint Capella who's on an expiring contract?
That's probably who I can't move. I can't move Trae Young. As much as unless it's something that's just like that package you said from San Antonio, which I don't think San Antonio does. Unless it's something like that. Hey, Atlanta fans, it's looking like it's gonna be Murray and Young for the foreseeable future. Because the one of the teams that that's rumored to be in the Trae Young sweepstakes is who? The Lakers. What do the Lakers have that I want if I'm Atlanta? What, Austin Reeves?
And not to mention, I mean, Trae Young's under contract forever. Like there's no rush to trade him away. He's under a contract for 3 seasons. 3 more seasons at a big number.
So if you're Atlanta, if you're LA, hey, I want Trae Young. What are you offering? We'll give you Austin Reeves. They can't trade no first round picks 2029.
Actually, they can trade 3 first round picks, I think now, because they only traded 1. Whatever package we got them the last season. They have at least, I think they might have 3 picks available to them to trade this offseason.
And then it comes down to the personnel. All right, Austin Reeves.
It would be D'Angelo Russell, Austin.
What else you got? What else you got? If I'm Atlanta, I do business. We see the problem, right? Like we can't stop a fucking nosebleed, right? Hey man, I really don't know.
Atlanta's in a tricky spot because you get the first overall pick. You're supposed to be excited about it, but there's a lot of problems in Atlanta. Their star players don't want to continue to win. This roster is built to win now, given the cap that the money that they've spent on the roster already. It's going to be tough. From Atlanta, let's talk about Charlotte for a moment. They have one notable free agent. It's going to be Miles Bridges, who came back, after missing that season last year. He is now a restricted free agent for the Charlotte Hornets. But they've done a good job building this roster kind of out. Davis Bertans is a non-guaranteed, fully fully guaranteed contract. I imagine they'll waive him, and he will not be back on this team. 6th overall pick in this upcoming draft. Let's talk priorities. And do they even consider trading LaMelo Ball, given the fact that he hasn't played much the last 2 seasons? I mean, there was like a weird number, like a weird stat that he's played as many games as like Ben Simmons over the last 2 seasons.
Yeah, no.
So
we don't trade. Because that dude is so goddamn special. Right? He's what the game is now, a 6'10" point guard that can handle, that can pull up from 40. You literally got to guard, like, you literally have to pick him up 94 feet because he'll take 2 dribbles inside the half-court line and just launch it. And we've seen him make those shots. Like, it's rare that we see a younger player this game that can shoot the ball like Steph Curry. Like,
yeah.
you gotta like, when he's fully loaded and healthy, you gotta treat LaMelo Ball like he's Steph Curry. You can't leave him open.
I mean, he's one of the best passers in the league. I mean, if you try to collapse on the LaMelo Ball, he can find the open guy.
He can find the open guy.
They have two first-round picks in 2027 on top of theirs from Dallas, I think, as part of the Grant Williams trade, and from Miami as part of the Terry Rozier trade. They owe a 2025 first-round pick to San Antonio for some reason that I cannot figure out why. But
was that Tony Parker trade?
No, couldn't have been. I mean, no way. It is super protected, though, so I doubt they give up a first-round pick unless they make the playoffs next year somehow, which I highly doubt. But looking at their cap space, so they have $118 million in guaranteed contracts already this season, so they will have at least about $25 million in cap space to kind of play with if they want to make a move and try to sign somebody. But Charlotte is notorious been not a place that players want to go throughout history.
And a bunch of that has to do with, like, if you go to Charlotte, you just not gonna win. What's his name? The most famous contract was Nick Batum. Like, we saw how much of a beast Nick Batum was in Portland, right? He was knocking down shots. He was locking people up. Jordan paid him a boatload of money thinking he was going to get that here in Charlotte. And you didn't get it. You didn't even get a fraction of it, bro. Like, it was like 2 years into that deal. You're like, hey, Nick, you gotta go, bro. Like, it was, it was awful. And I just think, like, that's just like the bad, like, it's just like the bad luck that they've had. They've had bad,
terrible lottery luck, right? Like, they had one of the worst records in the league. They end up with the 6th overall pick. I think that's as bad as it could have been. Like, when it comes to their,
not just that though, like, it's bad decision making.
Actually, that's not true.
Like, it's it's bad decision making. It's, you're drafting 2nd overall, and instead of getting Bradley Beal, you get Michael Kidd-Gilchrist.
I mean, Bismack Biyombo. I mean, there's a lot. Right, I mean, you can talk.
Who should have stayed in school instead of some of the guys in that draft class. You shock everybody and get Bismack Biyombo for what? You paid Lance Stevenson a bunch of money when he didn't fit the, like, that. Lance Stevenson was never that type of player, bro. Like, he was like,
I mean, they had to waive him at some point. So, yeah, I mean, Charlotte, yeah, they're in I mean, they have, so you can't, like, they have the 6th overall pick, and, like, the chances of you getting a franchise-changing player at 6 is not that high. I mean,
let's be fair. Like, no, let's be fair. Let's be fair. Like, that absolutely can't happen.
Yeah, okay.
That absolutely.
But they had the 3rd highest odds of ending up with the 1st overall pick, and for you to go from the 1st overall pick to 6 it's tough break.
I mean, hey, we saw a Bulls team with 0.00001% get,
and the Hawks too. They had very low.
Like, we literally saw a season where we thought the Knicks were gonna get
Zion Williamson,
and they got
first record in the NBA, and they ended up with RJ Barrett. So,
they ended up with RJ Barrett.
I mean, the Detroit Pistons have had the worst record 2 years in a row. They have not gotten the first overall pick in either of those drafts. I mean, they do have some nice building block pieces. I think Grant Williams still has some upside. What do you do with Miles Bridges? Relatively behaved himself this season, was good on the court when he did play. I think that everybody's deserves a second chance and to be able to play in the NBA and in life in general. You deserve a second chance to rebuild your life.
That's why the NBA has their disciplinary system. It is what it is. Obviously certain things rank higher than other things. I don't even remember. Was it domestic violence?
Yeah, it was domestic. The pictures went viral.
Did the NBA ever come down on? Did they ever come to a decision?
Yeah, they suspended him for an entire season, I think.
So if that's the case, and you ain't heard nothing up, you ain't heard no more from it. Nothing new has come out from that situation. Nothing new has come out in general. Like you said, he relatively behaved himself this past season. Stayed out of trouble. Stayed on the court. I say you bring it back because I want to see this trio of LaMelo, him, and Brandon Miller. I want to see what that does.
And with Mark Williams too. I like Mark Williams too as a future five of this team.
I love Mark Williams. I'm like, oh, you gotta steal in that brother right there. Especially with the mishap of Kai Jones happening. That was weird. I'm glad Kai Jones, first off, I'm glad he's okay. I'm glad he got himself together and all the other good stuff, because it was not a good look.
No, for sure not. If they could add a Malik Monk, who was on Charlotte a few years ago, as somebody they could put on this team as their shooting guard of the future, not maybe the future, but at least for one season. Royce O'Neal, another guy they could spend some of this cap space on. Isaac Okoro, who's a guy who can play some defense and really be that 3 and 3 guy, the D guy that they need. It's probably not going to shoot the ball that well. There are some options for them, Charlotte. I mean, they need LaMelo Ball to stay healthy. If this team is going to want to do anything next season, he's got to be healthy. I mean, he's making $35 million next year. If he's riding the pine because he's hurt, it's not going to do him any good.
Thanks. If you're Charlotte, it's just it's every time with LaMelo, it's just he gets hurt, just God damn it, and again, just like with Jimmy Butler, these ain't no small injuries, bro. These are
he broke his hand. I mean, season-ending injuries.
These are season-ending injuries, and when he comes back at the start of the season, he's so spectacular, and folks are just in awe. I mean, it's always no, he's been doing this. Y'all, the problem is y'all just don't see it enough.
Yeah, I mean, he's played 36 games in 2 years ago, 22 games this most recent season, for a total of 58 games in 2 seasons. If that's your best player, it's not going to get it done. To the final team, the Washington Wizards, who have the second overall pick. They also had the second worst record in the NBA last season. Notable free agents, Tyus Jones and Rashawn Holmes. He has a player option in his contract, so he can or cannot become a free agent. Let's talk about, will they trade Kuzma or Jordan Poole? Should they make those decisions? And what should the priorities be for the Washington Wizards as they continue to try to build this team? Although there aren't a lot of building block pieces on this team right now. At least with Charlotte, at least they have one piece that is a building block piece. I'm looking at
two. They have two. Him and Brandon.
Yeah. Looking at the Wizards roster, they just don't. I mean, depending on what you think about Bilal Coulibaly, who had a pretty solid rookie season. Denny Avdija was okay this season. Really, nobody got to see him play a lot because the Wizards were terrible. But he was okay this season. Kyle Kuzma, continues putting up bad numbers on a bad basketball team, or solid numbers on a bad team. And Jordan Poole was terrible this season, putting it nicely. They also owe some future picks. I'm not sure why they owe a 2024 first-round pick to the Clippers. Actually, this is going to be conveyed next season. Oh, this is a pick that they have coming to them. They get the Clippers pick in 2024. I don't know why. So, but then they have So
funny thing, Udonis Haslam was on First Take. Udonis Haslam is now he's retired from the Heat after
7,000 years.
Right, a 12-year playing career, 8 on the bench, for a total of 20. He's on First Take. He's transitioning to his media career, which is, I love it. More players in the media means more people that know what the hell they're talking about when it comes to the game of basketball. And
hey, just because you played basketball doesn't mean you know what you're talking about. So,
well, certain players I take his word over. I take his word over Kendrick Perkins any day of the week and twice on Sunday.
I got you.
But he was on First Take the other day, and the question of, because we got three coaching openings right now, right? We got them, we got Cleveland, and we got the Lakers. And the question was which is the more enticing hire of the three? And UD said Washington, and his rationale was this: in Miami, in LA, you got maybe 2 years. You got maybe 2 years of that 5-year deal, and if you come up short, it's your fault. If you go far, it's not because of you. Like you get all the blame, you get very little praise, because we saw Darvin Ham take the Lakers to the Western Conference Finals, and what good did it get him? Right, got him fired the next year. We saw Frank Vogel win the chip, and he got him fired the next year. And then you got he's like, in Cleveland, you don't know if Donovan Mitchell's gonna resign. He's like, Donovan Mitchell's come out and said like, hey, I'm happy, I want to be here. And UD is like, well, then why didn't you sign the extension? And UD not understanding like, hey, just because you offer that don't mean you can't offer me more. Like, bruh, like, come on now. So he said Washington for the simple fact that you can a coach can come in, you can shape this in your image. You can shape this how you want it. The problem that you have is what you said, David. What are my building blocks? I'm going into this with what exactly? Kyle Kuzma's a trade target. Jordan Poole's a trade target. Then that leaves me with who? A bunch of lottery picks that ain't been good. Denny Avdija probably needs to go back to the league he came from when he got drafted.
He was okay this season. 14 points a game. Shooting at 50% from the field. That's what you want, right? 37% from the 3-point line, 7.2 rebound.
That's what I wanted if it wasn't his 5th year in the league.
Fourth
year in the league. Like I wanted to see 14 a year ago, maybe 2 years ago.
Yeah, but his percentages and everything across the board for Denny Avdija has gotten better every season, and he played more minutes this year than any other season. I'm not saying he's a building block piece. I just don't think that I think he's been better than what's been portrayed.
I think you got Johnny Davis, who me and Izzy were both super high on.
Can't even get on the floor.
He can't even get on the floor with the Wizards, bro. Like,
it's not a good look.
I don't know if that says more about him or how they running things. Like, it's at this point, you might as well be like, hey man, we might as well see what the hell we got in the kid.
That's true. It's might as well run him into the ground. And then Tyus Jones has been a good backup starting point guard in the NBA. I imagine he will go to a team that's going to be competitive this most recent season. I'm not sure what you do with the second overall pick. There's not a guy who's going to be a franchise changer in this draft. Sure, there's going to be good players, but
and I understand, Wemby sticking up for his guy Koulibaly. They played together on that team in France that they were on. I think it was like Metropolitan '92 or whatever.
Yeah.
He came to bat for him. Like, hey, he could have been right behind me as the second best player in the draft. I understand you sticking up for him, for your guy. That's your guy. I get that. Hey man, like, just because you know how this works. Hey man, your homeboy said you was the shit, bro. Like, you can actually hoop. I need to see that, because if he don't show up, if he don't produce, that hurts your reputation.
Yeah, true.
Like, hey man, you said he was this. You said he could hoop, bro. Like, this ain't that.
And with all these things that we're talking about with the Wizards and how inept, quote unquote, inept the roster is with no really building block pieces, they don't even have any cap space this offseason. Like they have some like non-guaranteed money that they could waive, like Patrick Baldwin Jr. Still not a lot of money. I mean, we're looking at probably like $20 million in cap space at the very most. And who's going to go to a Wizard team? You're going to stink. Like free agents aren't coming there. You have to hit on draft picks. You have to hit on draft capital. I'm looking at a mock draft from NBA.com. They have Zachary Richer. I apologize if I mispronounced that last name. He is from France. Pro comparison is Harrison Barnes. That's the kind of guy that they need.
Then go get Harrison Barnes. Like, don't
Harrison Barnes. But he's 19. He's from France. He's 6'8", 200 pounds. He can shoot a little bit and play. He can play the 2 or the 3. He's a guy that they kind of need.
That's the thing though, boy. It's like it's if you're Washington, who even is the best player on the team?
I would make the bad argument that it's probably Denny Avdia or Kyle Kuzma.
Okay, all right. For the sake of having a rationale conversation, because people need to entertain Avdia, let's just say it's Kyle Kuzma.
Okay,
right?
All right.
And that's also more believable because based off of just what we saw last season, Kuzma, yes. Jordan Poole, we saw why.
Yeah, not good. But yeah, okay. Kyle Kuzma's probably their best player. Let's keep it 100.
Kyle Kuzma is the best player. All right. Where do we go from there? Like, what's the?
I mean, it's gotta be George. So it's gotta be Kyle Kuzma, Jordan Poole, Denny Avdia.
All right, that should. Or I would prefer.
Corey Kispert's been terrible in the NBA. Come on.
Better than Avdia.
No, he hasn't been. No, he hasn't been.
It's not saying much. All right, so you gotta get that under control. Like, you gotta. All right, this. Because like whoever the coach is, you gotta pull those guys out to the, especially Kuz. All right, Kuz, you're the vet here, bro.
So is Jordan Poole too. I mean,
Kyle Kuz's been in longer than Poole.
Yeah, I mean, not by a lot. I mean,
Poole's been in longer than Jordan Poole.
Yes, he's got 2 seasons on Jordan Poole.
So you de facto, you're
3
the de
seasons.
facto. You're that's a whole career for most people. You're the de facto vet leader in the room, bro. I hate.
Yeah, I don't know what Washington does. Like, I'm not sure what they do with the second overall pick. I'm not sure what they do with the rest of the pieces on their roster. If I was them, I would see if I could get something valuable for Jordan Poole this offseason because he just didn't work out on this team. But I'm not sure his trade value is so low. Like, I'm not sure it's worth even trading him. Like, you'd have to attach. I think you'd have to attach assets to him in order for him to be traded at this point.
And like Atlanta, okay, so I'm noticing a common theme with all of these teams in this division. They just got a surplus of guys on the bench that just don't play. Like, what are you stashing these guys away for? Like, it took Miami a whole season to play Jovic, and we're like, what was the point of that? Like, you could have did what you did with him this season, last season, and he would be exponentially better this season. Like, now it's like you said it in Orlando. You got guards. You got enough guards to give each team in this division an extra 2 guards. Why? Why? Like, if you're Atlanta, same thing. Like, bro, you drafted AJ Griffin. He showed signs his rookie year, and this is like, yeah, you're not playing anymore. Like, what's the point? Patrick, we had me and Izzy was big on Patrick Baldwin going to Golden State because we like, hey, you're learning from Draymond. You're gonna get some minutes because they real thin behind you. Jonathan Kuminga wasn't flashing yet. Haven't given them reasons to keep him around. We'll get to Golden State when we get to him. we thought Patrick Ball could literally slide into that backup spot behind Draymond and take off. Ship them to Washington, and it's still like, come on, man. Like, we already said what we said about Johnny Davis. Like, bro, like Johnny Davis got drafted 10th overall. Can't even get on the floor. For like it's been stashed in the G League, bro. Like, it's like, why? Like, so if I'm GMs of these teams and I'm finding these players, and if I'm a coach and I look at this hogwash of just mess. Like, if you're a coach for whoever takes that job in Washington, you gotta know one thing, and you have to come to terms with it pretty quick. We're not gonna be good.
No, you're gonna stink. Let's be real. You're gonna be the worst team in the NBA, probably.
Like you gotta come to terms with that. Summer league.
I mean, because for real, like some of these other bad teams in the NBA right now, at least there's some stuff there that you can be like, okay, I like some of the there's pieces here that we can kind of work around. Like Detroit's got Cade Cunningham, they have Jalen Duren, they have the Thompson twin, whichever Thompson twin they have. I mean, if you're Portland, you have Anthony Simons, you have Shaden Sharp, you have Scoot Henderson, you have DeAndre Ayton. There are pieces on their roster like, yeah, okay, cool. These are some nice pieces. Washington doesn't have any of that. Like they literally when you look at like when you talk about young building block pieces, Washington is just devoid of those pieces. They're not there.
Even in Charlotte, what do we say? Hey, we like LaMelo.
Brandon Miller, Mark Williams.
We like Mark Williams. I want to see what happens with Melo, Miles Bridges, and Brandon Miller. I want to see that trio on the court at the same time. I want to see what happens with that dynamic. Washington is like, all right, we got Cools, we got Jordan Poole, and who else?
Just a bunch of stuff. We'll see what Wizards end up doing here. We'll keep breaking down the offseason previews for every single team in the NBA as we get closer and closer.
The big one with them is you can't do nothing. You can't get no direction or nothing until you get a coach. Like, wait, flip it back to the team real quick. So one of the things that makes this league special is you got 30 teams, right? 30 teams. That's 30 different identities. That's 30 different things that say we're this team. This is what we do. This is what makes us special. In this division, only one team has an identity, and it's Miami.
Yeah.
Right? Orlando, we're kind of starting to see yours. We got to see it again to be 100% sure. Washington, what's your identity? Atlanta, what's your identity? Charlotte, what's your identity? Like the bad boys became the bad boys because they kind of figured out, damn, bro, they don't like me. They don't like Rick Mahorn. Like Bill Lambert's like, man, bro, they don't like me. They don't like Rick. They starting to hate Isaiah. Like they don't like Dennis. They think Dennis.
They don't like Joe Dumars.
They don't like how do you like they like you hate Joe Dumars don't talk. How do you hate somebody that don't talk? So like they like, hey, you know what? Y'all don't like us. Guess what? The feeling is mutual. We don't like y'all.
Yeah, so we'll see what ends up happening with this division as we move forward. We're going to be doing an offseason preview for every single team in the NBA. The plan for right now, for tomorrow, is to be breaking down the finals matchup between Boston Celtics and if the Dallas Mavericks do win tonight. The game is tied at halftime. If that does not happen, we will swing into. Yeah, so we'll see.
Go ahead.
But yeah, we'll see what ends up happening. We'll see what ends up happening in the game, depending on what kind of content we end up working with tomorrow. But yeah, thank you very much for joining us here at Prime Sports World. TJ, who do you think wins tonight? As the game is tied at halftime, so we got a clean slate coming into the second half.
I'm gonna go Dallas. I think Dallas pulls it off. I said it when we did the preview on Memorial Day. If they can weather whatever storm Minnesota sends them, they can, and they did it. Like they were down. Like I think they were down 10
Yeah.
in this game, and they
outscored them. They got outscored by 7 points in the first half. Or the first quarter. They came back and outscored Minnesota by 7 in the second quarter.
Yeah, it's give me.
I'm also going to take the Dallas Mavericks. I think they could come out and win this game. But yeah, thank you very much for joining us here at Prime Sports World. Please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. David Huffman, TJ Hopkins, and TJ. What do we do here at the Prime, my friend?
To bring the heat concert.
Yes, sir. And I will see you tomorrow. Have a good night, man. It's storming like a mother outside right now. So be safe.
I think it just missed me.
It's storming like a mother here. So hopefully I'll be safe out there. Y'all have a good night. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace out, brother.
See ya.